Next to me is the all-new Civic Type R, and it's honestly amazing. While the old Type R drove brilliantly, it was a bit over-styled and a bit cartoonish. Well, the new, more mature Type R is fantastic in every way. Stick around to the end of the video because I'm going to show you why this might just be the best four-door sports car under $45,000. Do a 0 to 60 test and rip it through the canyons. Under the hood of the new Type R is a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder making 315 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. But the most impressive part about the car, well, one of many, is that it only weighs 3,188 pounds. That's as light as a carbon fiber monocoque McLaren 720S or a Ferrari F8 Tributo. The result is a 0 to 60 sprint in a low 5-second range. But from behind the driver's seat, it feels a lot faster than that. Honda knocked it out of the park with the looks. The lower honeycomb grille looks fantastic, provides more cooling. We've got a red Honda logo, only given to cars with racing-inspired heritage, the Type R badge. We even have a heat extraction vent out of the hood. Overall, the looks are mature, sophisticated, and aggressive. The side profile of the new Civic looks great as well and has some functional aerodynamic elements. Not only do these vents look cool, but in combination with vents in the front, it causes a 10% reduction in brake pad temperature after just 5 laps. So these actually make a difference out on the track. You'll also notice these are 19-inch wheels instead of 20s in the outgoing model. The 19s have a larger sidewall, which means more comfortable on the road. If we come around to the rear of the car, we've got widened fenders, widened doors that flow into those fenders for an increased track width, which means more grip. Around back, the Type R styling is very unique. We've got a massive rear wing, but this time it's functional, it doesn't get in the way of your rear visibility, and it provides even more downforce. Despite it being so large, because of the curvature that flows perfectly with the rear window, when you're in the driver's seat, you don't even see the wing, which is pretty impressive. Come down to the tailpipes here, we've got a triple exhaust. These outer two are used in city driving. They're much quieter. This one, when you plop it into R mode, opens up the baffles and you get a more impressive exhaust note. All right, let's hop inside. The rear of the Type R is actually very comfortable. I mean, look at how much legroom I have. I've got plenty of headroom. There's not a ton of creature comforts. I do have some cup holders here. I do like the red contrasted seat belts, and this Type R inscription in the back of the seat is pretty cool. The interior of the Type R is actually really impressive. I'm in love with these red Alcantara seats. We've even got red carpeting, red floor mats. I mean, the contrast is epic. Now, if you want an all-black, boring interior, I'm sorry, you can't get it. This is the only interior spec that they make, and I think that's so cool. This is a purpose-built enthusiast sports car. They also don't make it in an automatic. Yes, that's right, the 6-speed manual transmission, which is absolutely brilliant, is the only transmission available. When we get out on the road, I'll talk more about why I absolutely love this. Perfect diameter steering wheel, feels great in your hands. I love the honeycomb mesh here for the air vents with these little toggles. We've got a Type R badge that lets you know this one is number 678. Manual seat controls, but you gotta have manual seat controls with bucket seats. Push the clutch in, turn the car on. We've got a nice digital display here for the multimedia unit. It's touchscreen, it's easy to use. I love the different driving modes. We've got a drive mode selector right here. We're gonna put it into comfort mode, and you'll see as you go into sport mode, the displays change a little bit. Individual mode allows you to customize a bunch of different characteristics of the drivetrain, from the engine, steering, suspension, engine sound, and we have the most intense mode, R mode, which gives you this absolutely sick horizontal tachometer with shift lights up above. All right, behind the wheel of the Civic Type R now. Let's get this thing out on the road and find out what it's like to drive. Oh, that shift indicator noise is epic. Wow. The Type R drives so well. It's actually shocking. From the steering feel to the transmission to the power, the brakes. This has to be the best four-door sports car you can buy for 40 to 45 grand. No doubt about it. The steering feel is so good. I mean, short of something like a Porsche GT3, the inputs, the response, the heaviness, the size of the wheel, the thickness of the steering wheel, everything they just absolutely nailed with the Type R. And because it's front wheel drive, it gives you this confidence as it claws at the road that you can just rip through the canyons and on the track. It's honestly so impressive. The other thing that they absolutely nailed with the Type R is the shifter. The linkage, the clutch, the way the shifter feels in your hands, it's actually incredible. And it's probably a better shifter than BMW has ever put in any of their cars. And I actually mean that. From the throws that are perfectly notchy, they feel accurate, confidence inspiring, to the weight of the clutch, how easy it is not to stall this car. One of my favorite parts about the Type R is that this thing was made for enthusiasts and absolutely no one else. It only comes with a manual transmission. The suspension is almost ridiculously firm, but I love that about it. They could make probably 3 to 5 times more sales of the Type R if they had made an automatic option for those people who can't drive stick. But why would you want that? It's so much cooler to have a car in today's day and age that only comes with a manual transmission. And especially one that has such a brilliant manual transmission. These seats are incredible as well. Not only do they look really, really cool, they're very supportive. They've got a nice cushion to the bottom section so your butt doesn't get sore after a 3-hour drive. And the level of support they offer in your sides is truly impressive. The bolstering to comfort ratio is really, really epic. Visibility is it's such an open cabin in this car. You can see out the back window. The wing doesn't block it whatsoever due to its shape. There's really no blind spots over your shoulders. It's an easy car to place on the road when you're driving it normally, and it's an easy car to place on the road when you're driving it really aggressively. If we go to the comfort mode, I'm not gonna lie, the suspension doesn't get all that much more soft, but the steering does, the throttle response is lightened, and anyone could drive this car as long as they can drive a manual transmission. But even if you can't drive a manual, this is a pretty approachable car. I think you should buy this if you're curious about what a Civic Type R would be like, but you're not sure about the manual. Learn how to drive a manual on it, and I'm sure you won't have any regrets. The other thing I really like is the level of customizability for the drive mode. So we're in comfort now, then there's sport mode, then you can switch it into individual mode where you can individually control the suspension independently from the steering feel as well as the engine response. And I think that's nice because the suspension is so firm. I like to have it in comfort mode but have everything else in R mode. I think that's the perfect setup for the Type R. Man, in terms of a daily driver that's a race car, I mean, it's borderline on the daily driver part. You've got plenty of storage space in the back. You've got plenty of space for rear seat occupants. The only reason I say it's borderline for a daily driver is, can you put up with the fact that it is pretty jarring in terms of the suspension, in terms of the steering feel? For me, that's a huge positive. I love cars that drive like this, that feel like they're a race car for the road and almost have no purpose being out on the street. That's my favorite type of car. And it's not too jarring where it's uncomfortable. If you like sports cars, I think you'd love the way this thing feels. And I hope that if you are interested in this car, you can get behind the wheel of one, because if you're on the fence, I guarantee driving one will change your mind. I'm very impressed. I liked the way it looked when it came out. The performance figures didn't seem light years ahead of the previous generation, although the previous generation was such a damn good car to drive. I just didn't love the styling of it. Now, I like the styling, I like the interior, it drives fantastic, and I really don't have anything negative to say about the Type R. The screen, it's a little bit tacked on here, but the graphics are good. The touchscreen works really well. I like that it has ambient lighting in the sides. The dash is fantastic. The styling inside and out is great. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed today's review. Like always, please browse the channel and subscribe. I look forward to seeing you next video.